Okay, I have Derek Garcia with me today. And Derek, I have known for a while now through the, I guess, running community, triathlon community. And he's doing some really cool things now, switching some gears. So, first of all, thank you, Derek, for coming on today.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about you and what your, like a little bit of your background. So, if someone doesn't know who you are, a little
Yeah,
bit about you and your background with triathlons, and a little bit about who you are.
yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in the Coeur d'Alene area. I went to Coeur d'Alene High School and I was planning to go play college baseball. I kind of had major burnout my senior season and I just bailed. And sometime in I don't know, I think it was my second year of college, I was like really just getting bored. I had no competition anymore. I knew I didn't want to play baseball. But it was something that, yeah, I wanted competition, and somebody asked me to do the post falls duathlon, and so I jumped into it with not a lot of like, you know, training or thought process. I was just like, fine, and I borrowed a bike, and it was a buddy of mine who was this old '80s bike, and it had down tube shifters, and I was so happy because I was fourth in my age group, and then I realized there was four guys in my age group. I was like, oh, I guess that's like not very fast then. But my whole goal was to run so it was a 5K run and then a 30K bike and then another 5K run. And I really wanted to run the total 10K running under 30 minutes. And I barely got it. It was like 29:50. And yeah, that was 15 some years ago. And yeah, but that's where my love of like multi-sport grew. I signed up for the Coeur d'Alene Triathlon that night after the duathlon, and as soon as I hit send for my credit card information, I realized I needed to learn how to swim. I didn't know how to swim, so yeah, so that was my crazy experience with multi-sport, like just starting up in it, and it really grew from there. I ended up turning professional in 2012, and that was a whirlwind year too because I left my job and decided to move to San Diego to train, and that that year as well I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And this is in the midst of like raising kids too. I have three boys now. They're 13, 10, and 7.
Oh, wow.
So,
13. When did that happen?
oh, I know. Yeah, just a couple months ago. It's so weird. Like I don't feel like I should be old enough to have a teenager, but I just turned 36, and so yeah, I'm in late 30s. I'm getting up there, but yeah. So the community in Coeur d'Alene has always been so supportive of everything that I've done, and the really the hype surrounding Ironman is what got me interested in multi-sport. To be honest, I went and volunteered a couple of times. That year that I did the duathlon, I volunteered, but I still didn't know much about it at that time. But yeah, so that's where things really started for me, was back in college when I kind of got that competitive itch again, and just in the endurance world. I'd never been in the endurance world. By when I was 22 years old, I had never run more than 3 miles in like one straight stretch, and so it was quite I lost, I don't know, 25 pounds or so, which I wasn't really like overweight. I just was more of like a different type of sport. When baseball, I had a much different build, and so it took me a good 5-6 years to kind of melt down my body into the shape that needed to be a triathlete, because you can't really carry like all that excess weight in your shoulders and chest and all that. So
Oh, for sure. All of the really good athletes, you're just like all they are is legs. When it comes to
yeah,
triathlon, it's
endurance athletes for sure. It's like that joke of legs of a linebacker and upper body of like a sixth grade kid.
exactly. I like
you know
every female and male when I've done endurance stuff, I'm like, how do they do this? There's like nothing up here and it's all just legs.
yeah, it's very true.
That's awesome. So you've taken a huge switch of things now, especially obviously with COVID. COVID's changed a lot of like the athletes and
Yeah,
and I know before that you had kind of switched things up and you're starting your own programs and all kinds of great stuff. So maybe tell us about what you're up to now.
Yeah, so as I've really, as I delved into triathlon, I got more and more interested in every aspect of utilizing what I could to be healthier. So, first that was all sport specific, what shoes, what running technique, that type of thing. And then it became, wait, I need to learn how to eat. I need to learn how to use proper equipment, all kinds of stuff. And so, I went back and I took some classes in college. I went through a nutritionist course and personal training and things like that, because really what I looked at was, it was really from the standpoint of a professional athlete, where if I could just gain 1% each year, I could gain some sort of advantage on those other competitors. And any little bit that you could get, I would try to do. And really it was out of, first for myself, but oftentimes I was kind of a guinea pig for the methods and the ways that I went. And so really how that's transitioned is, in 2010, I started an endurance coaching business. And at first that was very much triathletes, cyclists, people that were doing all kinds of events, or maybe someone who just wants to lose some weight and do a 5K, for instance. But it was very much focused on the endurance world. Whereas as I got towards the end of my racing career, I started to want to broaden my horizon on the people that I met, as far as now I wanted to go out in just the normal business world and start working more in kind of that wellness space, which sounds very trendy, but it's true that it's a lot more on people's mind now. And so I had made this transition about 18 months ago, starting to work with small businesses on their wellness, on their, how do you just maintain healthy eating habits and exercise habits. And that was where I kind of branched off, and I'm still doing the endurance training. But for me, I feel, especially because it's mostly in my community in Coeur d'Alene and the surrounding area, it's really near and dear to me, because of the fact that I want people to see results, and I want them to be healthier. And so that was the transition for me about 18 months ago. And I'm still in that place right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So are you have anything new and exciting that, we can look forward to that you're doing along those lines?
Yeah. So it was really cool, because like I said, in the last 18 months, I had made this transition out of professional racing and more focused on really growing my business, which for the longest time was DG Multisports and the endurance and wellness side to all of that. But in the process, is amazing how, as you go along, you meet key people in your life because of the direction you're going. And I always feel like when you're optimistic and you're looking for opportunity, you find it. You get more lucky. And so in where I would say that I really lucked out and just seeing opportunity is, I met a really great guy in town. His name's Shannon Horn, and we become really great friends over the last 2 years. And he's been in whole another business arena, but he was ready to do something a little bit new. And so he still has his other stuff going on, but he's also a triathlete. He's a national champion. He's 10 years older than me, and he's a great guy. Like I said, we've spent tons of time. We went to Europe last year together and did a race. And anyway, so we together, we started a new business. It's called Coeur. And our thought process with Coeur was that we wanted to have a company that we have a physical facility that is for training and nutrition and really honing in on what people are doing from all ranges, whether it's someone who's a really high level athlete or someone who, for instance, like wants to lose 60 pounds. And then the other side of it is, we're going to have some team building and adventure events long term. So bring in some of those businesses that I'm working with on wellness, or maybe we do something where it's even like an overnight camp. We actually have some property that we have in the mountains here close that we're going to utilize. And so even with COVID and all of what that's done, it's made us delay a little bit in our building, but we actually are still going to put on our first event, which is it's a trail 5K at the end of September. It's September 26th. We're calling it the Tower Challenge, and it's going to be a very unique event. I don't even really, I hesitate to call it a race because you're definitely not going to get any 5K PR. It's going to be so slow. I don't run nearly as fast as I used to, but I ran it in 30 minutes, and that was running pretty hard. And I mean, I think that somebody who's very, very good, like maybe the person that goes the fastest might go somewhere in the neighborhood of 25, 26 minutes. And so that's pretty slow. I mean, that's almost 9 minute pace because it's difficult. But then also there's some stuff that's going to happen during the race that I don't think many have ever experienced in an event. And so the other aspect of it is just it's a beautiful place. It's barely outside of town, but yet you get up to a mountaintop finish. It's similar to like being on Canfield, where you get up and you can see all of town, but it's just in Post Falls. It's kind of in the Signal Point area off of Greens Ferry Road, if people are familiar with the area. And it goes up to a radio tower. That's what we're calling it, the Tower Challenge. And yeah, and we have some really unique stuff that we're going to give people who sign up, and it's a kind of a combo thing. There's it's announced the announcement of our business, that we have a building coming soon, and then also just the aspect of we are going to put on a lot of events, but they're going to be much different than what you normally go to when you just look at like the average races. And I think it's just for us, we've raced, I think together we've raced over 1,000 races.
Wow.
And all over the world too. And so we came together with this idea of like, what could we do so like, for instance, let's say somebody gets done with a half marathon. My typical question is, hey, what was your time? Because I want to know, like, did they meet their time goal?
Yeah.
And for us, like, and don't get me wrong, like I was driven by that for so many years, and I still will be driven. I still want to run Bloomsday faster than ever. Okay. But the reality is that what I would love for our events is when you say, hey, how did the race go? The time doesn't even come to mind. It's not even what you think about. You just are like, it was so fun. And I ran into this person, and the atmosphere and the experience was huge. Like, it was just fun. And it was something that I remember. We're about making memories, not creating PRs. That's kind of one of our mottos. So we really want people to make these long-term memories that really stick with them, because we believe deep down that fitness is a lifestyle. I know that if I travel anywhere, I try to go, if I have to, I'll run the hotel stairs, because fitness is a lifestyle for me. It's not just because I'm doing a race. And I think it's really relevant with what's going on with COVID too.
Oh, for sure. When I was going to ask about this race, I'm not going to be doing some burpees or push-ups, all right?
No, it's no burpees or push-ups.
Okay, because that's why I don't do the Spartan races. That's why I don't do any of those races, because I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to run.
I know. I'm like the same way. Like, I don't want to throw a spear. Not that that's completely out of the realm of possibility for an event down the road that we'd be like throwing axes or something. But no, I don't foresee us doing anything like that. Yeah, it's like I said, I think people will be surprised, because I know a lot of people, or there's a possibility that, we might have 10 people, 15 people who have done a Spartan race, and it's not what you don't experience this in Spartan races either. So it's, I think we've come up with something pretty unique. And yeah, so we're limiting it to 100 people.
Good.
Because and we're doing a rolling start. So, I mean, we've been racking our brain, because the reality was we had planned on running full bore at this time, but we had to make this decision of being responsible about everything. And so, yeah, we did the right thing, I think, to take some time and step back and see exactly what we want to do, and honestly just give us some time to really hone it in. And so all summer we've been talking about how could we still possibly do an event safely. Another aspect of what we're going to do is we're going to do a rolling start, since we have only 100 entrants. People are giving their proposed 5K time, not based on our course, but just like on a flat course. And we're going to actually have the faster runners go first and the slower walkers, hikers in the back, which creates a longer event for us. I mean, that's more for course suite, but we don't care. We'd rather it spread out and be safe
So true.
than it be congested in any way. And thankfully, we're on a mountainside, fresh air. So we're trying to create everything with, regarding our parking and pre and post race, an atmosphere that is going to be really great and safe. And because that's really what it comes down to, is that we want people to be able to get outside and start doing stuff again. And it's just unfortunate because I know so many people personally that they had so many events just one after another canceled, and it's been disheartening for sure.
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously the Coeur d'Alene Marathon, that's kind of our thought. We wanted to make it happen, but it's one of those things that you want to do it safely and smart, and it turned out so well. But we did it over 3 days, so the best rolling start you can make happen. But those are, I love that you guys are doing it in the way that the fastest go first. And yeah, you guys have to be out there longer, but there's no less passing. And that's a huge piece. And on trail runs, you're closer together than you are on a trail or like, like a paved trail or a road.
Right.
So I think it's great that you guys are doing that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we like I said, we've tried to rack our brains on how to make it as safe as possible, as well as just as enjoyable as possible too. Given, again, it's amazing how much just competition and events are so big in our lives. You don't realize it, and it's been very strange to not do the normal social things, just like little things, going to movies, going to concerts, even if that's just like a local concert. I'm not talking like a big concert, just a local concert where there might be 60 people in a shop or a restaurant. It's so weird that we haven't been doing those things. And so this is, for us, it's really about the health of it. We want people to be able to get out and have fun, and then also, I hope that it gives them a small taste of what is coming for us down the road, because we have some big plans for how we're gonna impact this area. And so
I love that. I really do. And we both know in the racing community, a lot of people, that's what they're training for something. Not to have any races to train for. Everyone's just kind of like, what's the point anymore? Like, and I know you say fitness is a lifestyle. I'm the same way. Like, I work out every week, like 3 to 6 times a week, depending on the week. And it's part of my lifestyle, but some people need that motivation to get them out of bed or, go for a run after work. So I know that races are key for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's been a lesson in, mental fortitude and really making people dig for why they do what they do. And that can be really difficult, because when you take away races, you have to really think, why is it that I torture myself in any arena, whether that's running or lifting weights or whatever it may be, rock climbing. There are certain things that drive people, and events truly do drive a lot, especially the endurance world. And so I know for me, I've had many conversations with people that you just have to really think about, is this something that deep down, it's something that's good for me and it makes me healthy and happy? And I've had people who have realized, like, wow, maybe this hasn't been as healthy of a thing for me. Maybe I don't need to be doing certain things because the emphasis was too much on a performance versus maybe just what it does for your soul. I mean, I remember post cancer, there was some times where I remember I started getting to the place where if I'd get to a mountaintop, whether it was a paved road, riding my bike, or a trail run, where in the past I would have just passed it right up and started going downhill. And I remember getting to the tops of some mountains or some areas and being like, I'm just going to like sit here and recognize the fact that I have healthy legs and healthy lungs, and I can be out here, because the reality was that was in question 6 months, a year earlier. And so I think that that's part of what people need to dig into now, because yeah, it's tough not having events, but what if the ability to do this was completely taken away?
It's so true too. I ran at the Coeur d'Alene half marathon last week with my mom, and I haven't ran a race where I wasn't trying to get a time.
Yeah.
And it's the most fun races I have ever done. It was me and my mom. We had friends like cheering us on. She's a police officer, so there was a couple of police officers out there with their lights on for us, and it was just, we had a blast. And she's like, I have to walk a little bit. I'm like, that's great. This is fun. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, I got to really embrace the running community instead of like, this is my time. Where's my pace at? Like,
Yeah.
instead of like, we're running next to the lake.
I think what it does is it brings you out of that center of the universe focus,
Mm-hmm.
because I have been in that place of like my race, like it was always kind of sad when I was really racing a lot professionally. I was going to great places. Like I remember going to New Orleans twice, and I didn't see any of New Orleans except for during the race, because of the fact that I ran through the French Quarter in a half marathon at the end of a half Ironman. But the reality was like pre-race, I was hunkered down and tapering and not going out, trying to not get sick, trying to preserve my energy. Don't get sunburnt. Don't get, something in the river
Exactly.
and water. And then post-race, it was like, I'm out. Like I race and I'm gone. And so, yeah, like kind of the whole idea of stopping and realizing like, my race, my results, me being at the center is not necessarily the biggest thing in the world. And I experienced that last October. Shannon, my partner in Leo Coeur, we went and did an Otillo race, which if people don't know, it's an event where you run and you swim multiple segments, but with a teammate. So you don't like tag off them and then they go. You're actually with them the whole time. You're tethered to them with a 10-meter tether the whole time.
Really?
So yeah, and so we did this race in Malta, which is 50 miles south of Italy, and we based like a whole Europe trip around it. It was really fun. And we did like a little training race in Bellingham that was much shorter, but we went into this race. It was 18 miles of running, and we went the wrong way. We actually did about 21 miles of running, and it was supposed to be 10K or 6 miles of swimming, and I think we definitely swam an extra mile because the race weather was insane. I've raced so many places in so many different conditions, and the water conditions in Malta, there's no way any triathlon in the US would have ran even a sprint triathlon in the water.
Wow.
It was so insane, and every exit was rocky and like super jagged. Like it was insane. And so we did it in 13 segments. So it's like 13 swims, 13 runs. So you maybe swim 1,000 meters and then you run a 5K, and then the next one's 1,400 meters and then 2K of running. And it was so brutally hard. And
It sounds exhausting.
it was exhausting, but here's the thing. So I was with my buddy, and who can totally keep up with me swimming, and he got like really sick to swimming. Got really, because the chop and the waves were so bad, and we had a portion of the swim where he just starts like puking, and it took the pace off for me. Like it took the level back a step, where that was like halfway or maybe even a third of the way. We had to slow way down.
Wow.
And so I went from like being in like super duper competitive mode to just like making sure that like we're going to get through with as much enjoyment as possible. And so I'm like running at times, and we're like running through mud on these rocky cliffs, and I'm like, whoa, there's a rainbow, and he's like back there still suffering. But I remember thinking like, my sole goal is just to get us to the finish line. And that change of focus, like I stopped looking at my watch. I didn't care at all. And I realized like, this was one of the more rewarding race experiences that I've ever had, where I probably would have just been mad. Like if it was me who got sick and it was a singular race, I probably would have just been mad at myself. Whereas I wasn't mad at it. He was like, kept saying sorry. And I was like, there's nothing to be sorry about. Like, you guys, who cares? Like, I'm still having fun. And So yeah, the whole race, I was just like smiling and happy the whole time. And
That's
it
awesome.
was such a cool experience. I'm like, what the heck? We're in freaking Europe doing some race where we're swimming in the Mediterranean. Like, it's stupid. Like, it was so fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it
Um,
was.
so let's ask you a few fun questions. What is your favorite place to eat in Coeur d'Alene?
I really like, so I would say there's two places. I really like Syringa because I really like sushi.
And they do it well for being in like Idaho and not like on the
Agreed.
coast.
Agreed. For being inland, they are a great, and that's not a knock at all. I think it's just like it kind of seems weird when you're inland and you're getting sushi because you're like, where did you get this
Yeah,
fish?
exactly.
But no, they're great. And then the other one, and this is more just an atmosphere thing. I really like Crafted,
Yeah, it is.
which is it's just the open seating out the fireplaces. They do the turtle races on the weekend, where they, you not bet, but you guess which turtle is going to win, and then you can win like $1 beer. Like, it's one of those places that, and they do have good food. They have good burgers and good salads, but it's like the atmosphere typically. I mean, they're always rocking and rolling. Like, seems like they're full all the time.
All the time.
And it's like one of those places that, like, if you want to have a good night, I feel like go there, start there, and then go from there. That still I like, and it's right there in the hustle and bustle of like what our mini downtown scene. So I like it that down there.
I do too, and they have great selections if you want a good beer or cider.
Absolutely, yeah, a lot of good drinks, and yeah, it's a fun little place for sure.
And their cocktails now are like fun cocktails. I agree,
Yeah,
it's a great little spot.
yeah, they continue to kind of morph. I feel like
Yeah,
they weren't this. They've been different in the past. Seems like they just continue to get better.
yeah, I agree.
So
So outside of health, nutrition, triathlons, what are your hobbies?
yeah, well, obviously I chase my kiddos around, and so they are water kiddos like me. Like, they love to be in the water. So whether it's the pool at the Croc Center or the lake or the river, we're always in the water. So that's one thing, chasing them around. But I love to fly fish. I'm going fly fishing this weekend. So yeah, I had made it a priority when I moved back from San Diego that I was going to start fly fishing. I had gear before I left, and I never used it. And I was like, if I go back to Coeur d'Alene, I'm gonna get into fly fishing. So I'm not totally new, but I'm also not super experienced, and it's very fun. It's still, the thing about fly fishing is most places that I go, it's catch and release. So it's really for the sport of it. It's just, I don't typically eat the fish I catch, but it's always in search of another, like the bigger fish. And there's a lot of movement and a lot of just like thinking about what to use and all that type of thing. So it's very active. And once again, it's in the mountains and near the water. So for me, I'm super happy. Sometimes I get skunked and don't catch anything, and I'm still super happy.
I love that. So what is one life lesson you have learned the hard way?
Let's see. That's a good one. One life lesson that I've learned the hard way. Maybe, I think what probably comes to mind for me is almost the idea of like measure twice, cut once. I find myself, I'm very action oriented. And so oftentimes I'll find that I have to redo things because I'm so enthusiastic and really want to just like get moving, that I've found that whether it's projects or sometimes fitness related things or whatever, I'll be like, oh, that's gonna work, and I just go for it, which in some ways has afforded me a lot of good things. But to be honest, I think I probably would have been better off had at times I slow down and think and prepare a little bit more, because I'm always that type of person who just like can decide like, okay, I want to do something, and I'm just gonna go for it. When the reality is that it probably takes a little bit more preparation sometimes.
Yeah, but there's also good things in that too, because I'm more that way too.
Yeah.
But there is like people that plan too much and they're just like, they just won't even just step in and do it because they're
Yeah.
so worried about they didn't plan well enough
Yeah.
that, and I think it just depends on the person. Like it can be a good thing and a bad thing.
I think probably what it kind of rolls into for me a little bit too is that I have this feeling that I can wait until the last minute and still create something good, like a good experience. When the reality is like if you want to go camp in Glacier, you probably should prepare because there's like no campsites. Whereas I'm the type of person who I can usually make good out of like a situation that's not ideal, but I probably if I would have prepared, I could have made it so much better. So that's probably where I see there's like definitely pros and cons to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So who's your biggest inspiration or your hero?
Um, I I think that when I look, it's hard for me to separate out when I think about people that I really, really look up to. It's oftentimes it's athletes. There's a lot of athletes that I looked up to growing up, and so I feel like there's multiple athletes that come to mind, but it's interesting because I feel like that's not necessarily like they're great athletes, but then sometimes you find out about character
Yeah.
or whatever that maybe it's some you find out things that weren't as positive, and so I don't know. I'm trying to think of in like more outside of the realm of sports, even just who I've found inspiration from. I really um, have. Have you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich
Mm-mm.
by Napoleon Hill? Yeah, that one is that book in general is. I'm trying to think. Hold on, am I allowed to do this on a podcast where I
Yeah,
look up
you're
the book?
allowed to do this.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm looking it up right now when it was written. So okay, hold on. So it was written in 1937.
Oh, wow.
So it's called Think and Grow Rich. It's by Napoleon Hill. I would say he's been one of the more influential. Him and C.S. Lewis, two authors that have been really influential, just based on certain aspects of like my faith. But then also, like Napoleon Hill, he brings faith into some of his stuff. But it's also he talks a ton about envisioning your future success, and it was his book was a life-changing book for me just in the way in which it gave me motivation and perspective to know that you can create success if you really believe in yourself. And it was it was just totally new way of thinking for me. And it's cool because why it's relevant that he wrote it in 1937 was it was right after the Great Depression, right around World War II. And so we're talking in a time
Mm.
where things to write a book that was like about being optimistic and believing in yourself, it's pretty crazy because a lot of people were very down. They were at the worst places in their life, and yet he really emphasized the fact that the greatest opportunity presents itself in those times. And I think it's actually very pertinent to what we're going through right now, that if you can manage to stay positive and believe that there's great things on the other side of it, you'll see opportunity. And so I think yeah, those are probably my two, C.S. Lewis and Napoleon Hill.
That's really awesome.
So
So, if you, let's go into inspiration or whatever you want to, but if you had a billboard and you could put anything on it, you could write anything on it, you could have anything, this beautiful billboard, what would it have on it?
I think one of the things that I feel true or that is true is that every person has worthiness to them, which is a really weird kind of mushy way to say that each person is uniquely who they are. And I believe that there's relatability across all races and all religions. And like, I remember a specific time where I was in New York and I was on a bus and this woman got on and she was wearing just like netting. It was pretty, like, you could see everything. Um, Very overweight, not my religion, not my race, for sure. And she sat next to me on the bus and we had a great conversation. And I believe that it came down to the fact that from a really young age, I was taught that, like, you can meet people from any realm of life, and if you open your eyes, you'll find humanity in them. You'll find something that is relatable. You'll find something that's worth investing in and talking to. And I think that so for me, the why is it like, what's the idea that everybody's worthy of having like healthy relationships and a good life. It's just a matter of believing it. I think that for most people is a core thing that they struggle with. I mean, I know I do, and it's something that if we could all believe that, it would help with so many things. And so I think that's what my billboard would say, but I don't know if it would work. That sounds like it would be it wouldn't work super well, but
Who
in my
knows?
ideal world, that's what I would, that if it was gonna, if I was gonna say something.
I love it.
Yeah.
So tell us how we can support you right now, whether it's getting involved with what you're doing, signing up for the race if someone's listening to this and
Yeah.
interested. How can we support you, or what can we do next to help you?
Yeah. So what I'd love to fill up our race of the 100 people. It's our website is leocorefit.com. It's LEOCOREFIT.com. And then it's /tower challenge. You can just find it on that main page though. And yeah, and if you're interested in any type of coaching or consultation when it comes to the health world, whether it's that you want to run a 10K or mountain bike a 100-mile event, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you can get a hold of me the same way. It's just Derek@leocorefit.com. And so yeah, that's going to be my main way that I'd love for people to support, is come out to our event. I think I called it a race again. See, I struggle with even not calling it a race.
I bet.
It's because, it's something that it's culturally for me. I'm trying to change that, but yeah, it's true. It's more of an event. It's something that we want to create some good memories. So yeah, come out and support us there. And really, I love the relationship aspect of the endurance world and the fitness world. And so, whether it's reaching out in any way, I'm always open to talking about new ideas about how to think about fitness and how to be healthy people, because I believe there's just way too many people out there that are suffering from obesity and pain that could be avoided if they were able to know the path. I think it's really hard now. It's so strange because we have more information than ever, but it's interesting. It's like if I go try to get a toothbrush, I'm going to Google right away, like, top 5 toothbrushes. Well, I could go down this rabbit hole of trying to figure out which is the best toothbrush. And if I get the wrong one, I might think that maybe my teeth aren't going to get clean. And that, just the doubt alone, could throw me off track. And I think that that's similar to fitness. If
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to lose weight, right? Like, well, should I do a ketogenic diet? Should I like fast for a week? Should I do paleo? Should I I don't know, like, you go all the way back to so many things like Atkins diet and all kinds of crazy things that over the years, and it's just overwhelming. And
Oh,
sometimes just the act of going online and looking for, like, what should I do, you're exhausted, but you're like, never mind. I don't want to do it, so I like having those conversations with people, because
oh yeah.
I think that there are some core things that we can do, and really, more than anything, it's just sticking to it for a long time. It takes so long. It takes 66 days to create a habit. Like, that's insane when you think about it. But then once it's something's a habit, it can really change your life. So
I agree. Well, thank you so very much, Derek.
yeah, absolutely. I'll come back anytime.
Yes, I will have you back because I feel like I have more questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much.